welcome to Talking Trades, the weekly podcast where we talk about comics so you don't have to. I'm Jeremy, I'm a DC fan.
And I'm John, a Marvel nut.
And I'm Matt, and I like both.
And I feel like it's been a while since I've been on this show, even though it hasn't been more than a week.
Yeah, I mean, you were on last week.
Yeah, not technically. I straight up was on last week.
We did the comic movie game.
Yeah, that went live today. I put that live as we're starting to record this episode. So I hope that was received well by people. I had fun with it.
Yeah, I had a great time. Yeah.
It was good. We'll have to do another one of those. Maybe we'll do a video game one because I think John will be like super into those. John knows lots of video games. But then I can't do any of the Kingdom Hearts titles because there's too many words in the titles.
They're too verbose is the nicest word.
There's too much. Kingdom Hearts, Birth by Sleep, Dream Drop 3.5 Remix, Up, Down, Left, Right, Start, A, B, Select, 2. I'm good. I didn't have a stroke there. So how's everyone doing? How's your doing? Okay. We're the big hair boys right now.
Yeah.
You can see it on an audio podcast, but John's letting his hair grow. I'm letting my hair grow. Matt's Matt. We're all very...
Due to the unpleasantness in the world, I don't yet feel comfortable having someone cut my hair. So it's just going to kind of hang out.
Hell yeah.
I mean, it's not like you're going anywhere right now, right? So who cares?
It's true.
I think you look great. I think you're a very handsome boy.
Thank you.
Matt, we can start a Talk and Flow podcast once the NHL playoffs start in 2 months or whatever the heck they're going to start. But let's just hop right into This Week in Geek.
This Week in Geek.
This week in Geek, we got some news, we got some info, we got some firings or some shade to be thrown. Call us an Oakley baseball player because we're throwing shade. Let's start off with the first one that I have. Ray Fisher, the guy who played Cyborg. He tweeted out that he is very upset with Joss Whedon, and he retracts any positive statements he had about Joss Whedon and claims that he was very abusive on the set of BVS.
Yeah, I saw that.
Thoughts?
I mean,
there's no further info to go off of, so what do you guys think?
I think a small handful of people know what actually happened.
Yeah.
I honestly, obviously we can't say, but I think I saw Alan Tudyk come to Whedon's defense.
He did, but
which is surprising.
Like I saw the tweet and Alan Tudyk said, "No, he even prefaced it saying he wasn't there, so he doesn't know. He doesn't know." And like he actually said that, but he said that he's only ever had positive experiences with Joss Whedon.
Yeah, I don't think that Joss Whedon would have the career he was at if everybody hated him. Mm-hmm. So maybe he just had a bad time on BVS and just took it out inappropriately, or maybe who's to say? Maybe Ray Fisher's like, he felt abusive to me, but I perceived it differently. Who knows? We don't know. But if it is the case, then it's very... Sorry, what did I say?
BVS.
Okay, thank you. On Justice League, but whatever the case is, if this is true, I think that Joss Whedon has given himself enough pedigree to, if he does come out and apologize, I think people will be like, oh, you know what, that's all right, we'll move forward, but we don't know the details. Right. So, and he hasn't said a word.
And I can imagine the set of Justice League was just high tensions, difficult's an understatement. And then for Whedon specifically, having done Age of Ultron, to have your studio come in and say, listen, you got to do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
It needs to be here. And then do Justice League and presumably have it happen again, where the studio just comes in with a laundry list of stuff that just needs to be different. Now, I can understand it being stressful, but that's no reason to, or forgiveness for, lashing out at someone.
Yeah, it doesn't excuse those kinds of actions.
The only thing that would never excuse it. The only thing that would be, let's say that did happen, and he was abusive on set, and he comes out and apologizes and says, I went to counseling for that. I was in a bad place, and I plan to be better, and he is better from there on. I'm willing to forgive and give him a second chance. Right. You don't forget it, but you can improve. But it happened. It is what it is, and you got to move on. You got to be better. But it doesn't sound like he has a track record of doing this in the past. So if this is the case, I hope it's an isolated incident and he learns from it.
Yeah.
But we don't know. We don't know the case, but it is just more and more stuff keeps coming out from the Justice League stuff, and the actors therein, such as Ben Affleck, has signed a contract with HBO Max. So it appears that he'll have a Batman movie on HBO Max, or he's just signing the contract so they can distribute his likeness on it. I don't know. This is a strange one.
Yeah.
I don't know that it would cover just his likeness. I think it would have to be some new content. Whether or not they are pulling him in to do voice work, film another scene. Like, it would really be good if we had Batman talking with this character here to set up this scene later on I want to use.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah, there's little known about it. All we know is that Ben Affleck will return in some capacity to Batman, which is awesome.
What would be great is if he is in the Batman movie, the not Matt Reeves. Who is that?
Robert Pattinson.
Yeah, but who's directing?
Yeah, but the director. I don't remember the director.
I couldn't tell you the director.
The Robert Pattinson Batman movie. If he passes along the gauntlets,
Yeah.
If Robert Pattinson is Terry McGinnis and they just go with kind of like a new version of a Batman Beyond, I'd be super down. You don't have to set it in the future. You could just have it be Terry McGinnis takes over now, and I'd be okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be into it, but I think everything's pointing to that movie being in the past.
Yeah.
Oh, then maybe Ben Affleck could just be in it and just be like, "Oh, I remember this one time," and the whole movie's a flashback. I'd be into
like
that.
Wonder Woman.
Yeah,
just like Wonder Woman. But here's the thing: Wonder Woman's just played by one person the whole time because she's ageless and perfect. Yeah. Did you see, going off the Ben Affleck news, this is not really news, just kind of something to bring up. Did you see the Scott Snyder tweet that says he is real and it's the Nightmare Batman? And it's like he's like a real thing in this movie?
No.
I did not see
he
that.
He tweeted out, he's like, awesome. He's in the movie.
That's cool.
So maybe that Flash scene actually makes sense now from BVS.
Maybe you should have just stuck with the Vision.
It's almost like you just let the original happen and don't touch it, and good things happen. Batman vs. Superman Ultimate Cut. What? Oh, God. Sorry.
Oh, speaking of that, actually, did you see that is on HBO Max and theatrical cut is no longer on HBO Max?
They replaced it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they replaced it.
Because it should be called The Only Cut. The one everyone should watch. Because that is a great movie.
It is.
Yeah, you can now see it finally.
I can. I just need to get HBO Max.
Well, here's the thing about HBO Max. I can add HBO Max to my DC Universe subscription for $4.
Wow, look at that. They did that.
They emailed all the people who own or who have the DCU app, and they said, you can add HBO Max to your subscription for $4.99. And I'm like, you know what? That's exactly what I wanted.
Yeah, that's like exactly how we drew it up.
Pretty sure it's documented that you're like, it'd be great.
I think I said like $5 to $10 too. I'm glad it's the 5, to be honest.
Well, I think you said like up to 20, and
total, for the whole thing.
Yeah. So I mean, that's cool though. That's cool that they're doing that.
Like, I don't need Hulu. The things I need are YouTube Red or YouTube Premium, because I watch too much YouTube. I don't like ads. Spotify, and I would pay for HBO DCU. I'm getting everything I want there. Mm-hmm. And then I just steal my parents' Netflix. So I'm good to go.
As you do. That's what you
Unless
do.
That's illegal, then I don't do that.
Right. Wink.
Who's to say? It's a gray area.
But, a lot of stuff going on with the DC Universe and the and HBO Max. So it's so far very positive, and I hope it continues in that way.
Well, here's another positive. When we were talking about fandom, we of course touched on Rocksteady and what are they doing? We didn't know.
And it's been confirmed it's an Avengers game.
IGN has reported that Rocksteady is allegedly making a Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League game, which should apparently be shown at Fandom on August 22nd.
Ooh.
So that is the rumor that's probably true, then, because
that's the one that IGN
basically
reported.
Every DC property under the sun, Rocksteady is working on. So
yeah. I trust IGN more than I trust Jimmy 1278539 with 7 different flags in his name on Twitter.
And they shared that news on June 23rd, so it was pretty recent as
Nice.
well. So yeah,
It's exciting.
looks like we maybe finally
Big
have an
if
idea
true.
what they're doing. Yeah, exactly. Big if true.
So as Suicide Squad kills the Justice League, then my guess is it's a one-off, then we're done.
I imagine it will be in the same vein as the Arkham VR game, where it is its own separate thing.
You think it'll be 20 minutes long?
No, I hope not.
27 minutes long if you count credits. Oh,
This guy. It's like you didn't even watch Nolan North play that game.
oh my God. You didn't even watch.
I did not.
It's a 32-minute video because he has an intro. Come on. This guy doesn't on VR. Speaking of Batman, continuing with Batman, there is more information about Michael Keaton in The Flash. He will not play Thomas Wayne. It will be Bruce Wayne. Is the information that was leaked, and this information could be wrong, but this is the information that we have. This is the information that I read on my Google homepage. So if that's the case, old man Batman, fine with me. You could still make him do the Thomas Wayne stuff, but then if you don't want to introduce Thomas Wayne as a character, like just write it's that this alternate Bruce Wayne is kind of a jerk. You can still do it.
Yeah.
And I mean, they've had alternate universe Batmans where he's an absolute prick, so it's very possible.
Mm-hmm.
But I just want more of my top 3 Batmans of all time.
The only thing there is like, I love the letter.
Absolutely, but I don't know that you can do that if you don't know who your Batman's going to be going forward.
I mean, they shot Justice League without knowing who the Batman was going to be going forward. Like, it doesn't.
No, but like they don't have a Batman for that movie. Like they don't have a Batman. You're not going to make it Robert Pattinson because you're just saying that one set in the past. Ben Affleck's done. Unless Ben Affleck signs a contract, then they could absolutely change this news. This is also news coming from Twitter and from Google. This could be totally wrong. We're not in the inside of WB, but big if true. We'll see what happens. We're living. I'm talking about the world that we have gotten information on, but we have no idea what's actually going to happen.
Same. Case in point, apparently Ryan Reynolds will be in the Snyder Cut as the Green Lantern.
Which is part of his movie were in the DC universe stuff, the Berlantiverse. So it's not improbable, but hey, okay.
Like,
why?
So everyone agrees the Green Lantern movie, poop.
Great.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah, no, it's
Absolutely.
bad. It's bad. Yeah, it's bad.
Like, in my opinion, Ryan Reynolds has too much personality to do a believable Hal Jordan.
Yeah.
But then there was the Crisis event, the most recent one on CW, where they then showed the OA at the end of it. So you're like, okay, so this did matter. What's that?
Is there an echo in here? Because I just said that.
I didn't hear you say it.
No, I talked about it before you started talking.
Oh, whoops.
Maybe it didn't work. Maybe it didn't come in. I don't know. But I was just mentioning that it exists in the DC canon now, as far as like the most popular DC live action stuff, which is the Berlantiverse, because that stuff is way better received than the movies.
Yeah,
like a lot better.
Because they went into the characters and were true and true adjacent to the characters.
That sounds difficult. Let's just put them all in a movie and expect you to love them.
But yeah, we'll see. I can't imagine it's anything more than a quick cameo.
Mm-hmm.
But like,
he just turns and goes on the Green Lantern and then it cuts. That's it. It's
like winks and then leaves.
He winks and he does a fist bump with somebody. He's got the ring on and goes, "Oh, what was that?" He goes, "Oh, sorry, it's my ring." And that's it.
I guess I will see you later.
That's so funny. Hey, how you doing? Oh, I'm parallaxing over here.
Oh my, oh my God.
Dumb.
But yeah, so I think that the initial plan to put this back on the rails was to have the Green Lantern Corps play a role in Justice League Part 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Like you seed it now, and then so that when it happens, it doesn't completely come out of left field.
Mhm.
We'll see. I don't know what's going on. I don't know. No one knows what's going on.
No.
I even doubt that after Fandom, we'll know what's going on.
No. But here's the thing. They'll tell us a thing and we'll go, yeah, that's fine. I don't believe it until it's in theaters and I can pay for it. Or it's
Until I get actors in costumes dancing around a weird set, I don't believe it's happening.
Even then, the New Mutants was filmed, so we don't know that it's real because we've never seen it.
Well, we'll find out in August.
Until it gets canceled again.
Just dump it on Disney Plus, you cowards.
Yeah, we're getting a second wave of COVID. They're going to cancel baseball. New Mutants isn't coming
They're going
out.
to cancel everything. I honestly think Black Widow, Wonder Woman, etc. might get digital releases.
Yeah, it's very possible. It's very possible. You know what is going to get digital release, though, that we can confirm, and we're pretty sure it's going to be very good? The Boys, Season 2.
Boys.
Season 2.
September 4th, the Season 2 of The Boys. Very, very excited.
Nice.
What a show.
Close.
What a show.
That show is so much fun.
I'm gonna probably have to go back and rewatch it again, just to make sure I know all the character nuances and stuff. Because there's some little things that you just gotta like get into. But I also just want to see it again. It's just such a good show.
It is
I did that with Umbrella Academy this past week.
Smart.
nice, smart.
When does that come out?
This month, couple weeks.
Nice. Very
3
exciting.
weeks? I think it's 3 weeks.
So we got that coming out. We got The Boys coming out. We also have the Superman Man of Tomorrow animated film is coming out. That is going to be interesting. That story was written by Neil Gaiman, I think. Man for Tomorrow. But here is the cast. Darren Criss, Zachary Quinto, Alexandra Daddario, Ryan Hurst, Brett Dalton, and Ike Amandi. I'm not sure who a couple of those people are, but Zachary Quinto and Alexandra Daddario are both very big. So that's cool. So we're going to get Spock, and we're going to get San Andreas's lady in it. She's also in True Detective, and she was in the Percy Jackson movies. So she's done a lot of good things. But it's going to be, that's good.
And San Andreas.
I like San Andreas. It's not great, but I like it.
I've heard whatever. I haven't seen it, but
it's a disaster movie. It's a disaster movie. There is nothing.
I heard it was a disaster.
That's all it is. It's just a disaster movie. There's. Oh my God, Jonathan. All right, moving on to literally anything else. Warren Ellis.
Yes.
He wrote a story it's like a 3-page story for the death metal compendium. No, what is it called? You got a bunch of stories in it, and it's like it's a anthology.
And
He
yes,
wrote a story for the death metal anthology, and barring some, or after some a series of allegations, DC has pulled his story out of the anthology. So there's a couple things with some sexual assault allegations going around with him, which, if true, horrible. And I think DC made the right call in pulling that before it was released. That was smart.
Yeah.
I as well agree.
Because with something like that, where if it's not the case, then you can always re-release the issue special edition and it'll be fine.
Just put it out for free.
Yeah.
Just put it out for free, exactly. But it's smart for them to get ahead of something like this rather than they've been pretty good with that kind of stuff. So I've been happy with that.
Just kind of moving on from that. It was reported a few days ago, after 30 years of publishing the Aliens, Predators, and AVP stories, Dark Horse is no longer going to be publishing those properties. Disney, now the owner of Fox, has taken those licenses away.
Marvel.
It could be.
It is.
Which would be interesting to see because, like, we've seen Batman
and Superman
interact with, the Predator and Alien and stuff like that. So it'll be kind of interesting to see them go to two separate universes.
The only problem with the Marvel universe is they reference it. Like Peter Parker has referenced Alien multiple times.
Yes,
so
yeah.
you have to be careful about that.
But yeah, they Dark Horse said, they have plenty of new fresh titles to fill the void. Such titles include things from The Witcher, Stranger Things, Avatar: The Last Airbender, Minecraft and Critical Role. So they still have plenty of big names on there.
They're going to be fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
They got Amory Wars. They're doing great, guys.
Yeah, it's sad.
Yeah, they had Aliens and Predators for 30 years. So
it doesn't say that they can't publish the stuff that they already made. Like they can republish their own work, can't they?
I think.
I would assume. I'm sure
I
there's
think it's just like starting January 1st next year. There's not going to be any new stuff. From Dark Horse for Aliens and Predators, all that fun Xenoverse stuff.
Okay, that's unfortunate, but it is what it is.
Yeah, basically, with since Disney bought Fox, Marvel had the first opportunity to purchase before anyone else got the opportunity, and they just took it.
Yeah, I mean,
which makes sense
with like some popular IP. That makes perfect sense.
Makes sense. I was going to correct myself. They do not have Emery Wars as Evil Inc., so that's on me.
I would have bet it was Dark Horse or Boom. So, oh well,
that's on me.
Next up, we've got some information. Spider-Verse 2. Just
Electric Boogaloo.
More. I wish that would actually be. You could title it that and get away with it.
You could.
It doesn't have a title yet, so that's cool. The title is still set to release October 7th, 2022. But there is some speculation that they may have to push it. But they are. Chris Miller did tweet out some stuff about. He's a producer on the Spider-Verse movie, and he tweeted out that the development and art techniques being done for Spider-Verse movies are already blowing me away. It's going to make the first movie look quaint. Which, if that is even half true, I don't know how good this movie is going to be, because that first one had so much interesting artwork in it and art styles, and I can't even imagine.
It was we haven't seen it in a movie ever.
Hot take coming in from John.
I think we're going to get Inheritors. I think they're going to go for the actual Spider-Verse story. You've introduced the multiple worlds. You know they exist. A lot of fun gags with them. I think it makes sense.
See, here's what I'm thinking. Spider-Verse 2, it's all Spider-Hams. 42 different John Mulaney's. But they're all the same.
I was about to ask, are they all played
by John Mulaney? But John Mulaney's like, hey, it's me, Miles. Just kidding. It's me, John Mulaney. The whole movie. I'd watch it. It's just a John Mulaney stand-up special, but they put him in a Spider-Pig suit. I'd watch it. I'm okay with that. It wouldn't be the weirdest casting choice that I could think of. I still think that the weirdest casting choice that I've heard in the past 2 weeks is that Jason Momoa is going to be Frosty the Snowman.
I'm surprised that made it. Yes. Hashtag Frosty the Swole Man.
What?
Like,
who did this?
I can't even say thanks, I hate it, because like I know nothing about this, but like
it's going to be a new live action CGI hybrid movie, and Jason Momoa will provide Frosty's voice, and he's also producing it. So,
what's another example of a live action CGI hybrid movie?
Sonic the Hedgehog.
Sonic the Hedgehog, The Lion King.
Does that mean where it's a live action movie, but there's one or more characters that are CG? Is that what it is?
Kind of like the Smurfs and stuff.
You're gonna have like real kids working alongside like a CGI Frosty.
I just didn't know if it was like a cat situation or what it was.
They would have just called it live action a year ago, but then people whined about the Jungle Book, like it's not live action because the animals aren't real. It's like, okay, so we have to call them hybrid movies because everyone likes to whine.
So is it where there's no human character?
No, Frosty will be CGI.
But I imagine the kids and stuff will be just...
It's just that people whined. Like the definition has now changed.
But now I'm all confused.
I'm honestly surprised that news made it. But
how are you surprised, man? Jason Momoa needs to be talked about more. He's also going to be in Dune, so that's a movie coming out.
I'm excited. I'm excited to see that.
That book is rough, man.
Yeah, it is.
It's very hard to read.
Yeah, I've tried.
Man. Yeah. I might have to try it again before the movie comes out, but I think I'll just watch the weird one with David Bowie and the guy from Twin Peaks again, because that movie's weird. really weird. So that's all the news I have. John, you got anything else?
No, nothing. Just looking forward to Fandom.
It's coming up 2 months or no, less than that. Man, oh man, it's already so far into the summer and there's still COVID. Yikes. All right. Well, let's get right into our first sponsored this week or our first sponsored pull list. It is sponsored by John. You have the name here.
Paragon's Own.
Paragon's Own. That's right. So thank you, Paragon's Own, for sponsoring this week's pull list.
Here's your pull list.
This week on the pull list. Matt, you don't have to alter that at all because it's already absolutely perfect.
I mean, I almost started crying.
I know. I appreciate that you didn't because it would have messed up the video on my computer. So we are reading Black Panther and the Crew, written by Ta-Nehisi Coates and Yona Harvey. The artist is Butch. I can't pronounce his last name. Is it Guice? Guice, with Mark Chatter and Stephen Thompson. And our cover art is done by John Cassidy, Laura Martin, Dan Brown, not that Dan Brown, and Paul Mounts. Boys, Black Panther and the Crew. Who is the Crew?
You got Storm. You got Misty Knight. You got Power Man.
Yep.
You got
Manifold.
I like it.
And Black Panther.
And of course, yeah, Black Panther.
Now, the Crew originally debuted in 2010 in a self-titled book just called The Crew. And it was it was similar to this. It was an all black superhero team. It had Aurora, Storm. It had Power Man. It had, I've never heard of this guy, Junta, which is Danny Vincent, a freelancer, intelligence agent, and con man. Justice, which is, they call him the Black Captain America. Casper Cole, who is the White Tiger, the heir in waiting to Black Panther. I didn't know that. That's pretty cool. And War Machine. That was the original Crew. And the current team is who we just said.
Yeah.
So this book takes place all in Harlem, in New York, in modern day, but it has flashbacks to other places and times. But the main central plot is in Harlem. What did we think going into this book?
I pretty much had the impression of, I like those characters.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what it was sold on.
I don't know who this Manifold guy is, but I like everyone else.
Yeah, I was familiar with the characters. I was familiar with Ta-Nehisi Coates. So I was good to go.
This book received a lot of flack because of various political statements it makes. People thought the writing wasn't great, blah, blah, blah. But it was actually canceled after the second issue. So it only became a 6-issue thing. It was originally going to be longer.
You can tell it was a premature cancellation. It's called Black Panther and the Crew, and Black Panther is not in 1/3 of these issues.
Yeah. You could have just called it The Crew. And I think you would have gotten. I think a lot of people were mad that Black Panther was hardly in it. A lot of people were mad, like, why is Storm here? This kind of feels hand.
Well, I mean, I think that the marketing is definitely a part of it, because you call it Black Panther and the Crew, and Black Panther is not in issue 1 or 2.
No.
And then when he is in it, he's barely in it.
Yeah.
This is a Misty Knight story. A Misty Knight and Storm story for the most part. Manifold even gets his own issue.
Yeah, everyone gets their own issue.
Yeah, everybody gets their own.
But I think that's the first time you could say that Manifold gets his own issue.
Yeah, I had not.
He doesn't get a lot of credit in a lot of books. He doesn't have his own book.
I had not heard of Manifold before this book, really. But I was a big fan. I like him a lot.
I read about him in the first Black Panther volume from Ta-Nehisi Coates, A Nation Under Our Feet. He's in that. He's in the second one. I believe he's in the third one. But this story comes out of the first volume of Black Panther, Black Panther, A Nation Under Our Feet. It's after he and Storm kind of make a brief reconcile. The woman who is the ultimate bad guy in the Black Panther volumes makes an appearance in this at one point. This is coming. It has required reading, which is Black Panther volume 1 and 2. So I think that kind of ticked a lot of people off too. I think people were looking for like a standalone thing for before the movie came out or after the movie came out, and they didn't get that.
Even then, this really serves as a side story as well, / lead-in ish to Secret Empire as well.
Yes, it does. It had a lot of things working against it. I think if you look at it with blinders on, it's still an okay book.
Yeah.
It's definitely not the best Black Panther book I've ever read. It's definitely not the best Ta-Nehisi work I've ever read, but it's still good. It's an entertaining book. I really like Misty Knight as a character, but I think I would have really liked it if it was Misty Knight and the crew, or just the crew.
Mm-hmm.
You could have called it that, and I think you would have kept a lot of people from getting mad. But I think a lot of people that get mad at this kind of book are the same people who get mad at Last of Us 2, and I don't care for their opinion anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think 2017, people knew who Misty Knight was, right? You had Defenders, you had Iron Fist. People knew who she was. Way more than like ever before.
Yeah.
Black Panther and the Crew came out. The first issue came out.
One of these was 2017 because I had to match it up with Secret Empire. Just to verify.
May 14th, it was announced that it was canceled, so it was before then. When did the Defenders... Or no, when did she first appear? Was it Luke Cage?
Iron Fist. Luke Cage?
It was Luke Cage.
Yeah.
She was season 2? No, she was season 1.
She's season 1.
So she was she was in the mainstream. That was 2016. Luke Cage came out. So she was a thing. She had been a thing for years, but like she was now a thing.
But as far as people who were not enfranchised comic readers.
Yes. This was also during her romance with Sam Wilson Cap.
Mm-hmm.
This was all like this was probably one of her hotter runs as like in pop culture. That being said, like I said, there was a lot of people I looked up some videos online, I read some reviews to see what other people thought, because I like to hear about other people's thoughts. And the people who like this stuff and who aren't racist bigots were like, it's okay, it's kind of choppy, and it's not, Coates' best work. And everybody else was like, it's dumb, it's SJW propaganda, blah blah blah, Black lives don't matter, get that kind of stuff. So it's like, okay, so your opinion is just doesn't matter. I want to read these 10 people over here who are like, it's okay, but here are my issues with it.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the opinions that I value. Not that you're complaining about racism, or they call it reverse racism. Like, shut up.
My only problem with it is that it like clearly suffers from being canceled.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It clearly suffers from being canceled. Like, the story was going somewhere. I liked the pacing overall.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, and that's the crew.
Yeah, now we have to wrap it up really quick.
So let's jump into it.
So I want to get out ahead of this one. Have you guys seen Undercover Brother?
No.
Oh, really?
I'm familiar with what it is, but no, I haven't seen it.
It is fantastic. Have you seen Black Dynamite?
No.
Oh my God. You're missing out on Black Dynamite, especially. Undercover Brother is pretty dated now. Both of them are satire of blaxploitation films.
Yeah, like parodies.
Yeah, they're parodies of blaxploitation films from the 70s, where they use, the strong Afro-wearing black man with like an Afro pick that has a fist on it and a peace chain and things like that, and it's referencing that, and they talk about that kind of stuff. And this book, the whole white gentrification plot felt like it was satire on a blaxploitation film, and I liked that plot.
It's like Beyonce's Foxy Cleopatra from Goldberg.
Exactly. She would be directly out of a blaxploitation film.
Yep.
And I keep using that word. That is the actual title for the genre, and not just saying that. I just want to make sure that everyone knows that. That is the title of the genre. There's like a black Dracula. I think it's called Blackula.
Blackula, yeah.
Yeah. Blackula meets the Wolfman, things like that. It was a different time. It wasn't a good time. Thank goodness we're out of that time. And we're into this time. And this time starts off in 1952 in Harlem with an underground Avengers, Defenders, if you will, an early prototype Defenders, defending Harlem from crooked businessmen. And the person who's running their group is named the Lynx.
Yes.
That's his code name, but his real name is, I forget it, John.
Ezra.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Ezra. And Ezra is, he continues to be civilly disobedient for his entire life. He continues to fight for justice. He continues to fight for equal rights. And he's a thorn in the side of many New York police officers, to the point where Misty Knight knows who he is. And when he is found dead in police custody, she's like, well, that's unfortunate, but I can see, he was kind of a pain in the butt, but I still don't want him to have been dead, but he's so notorious in the police community that even Misty Knight's like, yeah, I knew who he was. He was kind of a jerk. This obviously sparks some protests. How did he die? Why are you not doing any investigations into this? And
why was there no autopsy?
Oh, we're doing our stuff. You just got to relax. And his family's like, we think that you killed him in your custody because he was very happy. He had no reason to kill himself. He was in perfect health. He wouldn't have had a heart attack. He also got arrested many times.
Yeah, many
times. And at one point, the family talks to Misty Knight, and their spokesperson is Storm, but they keep calling her Blue.
Yeah.
Which is super cool. And they keep calling her Blue, and Blue's like, the family and I all agree that if it was an accident and he did just die in police custody, we'll drop it. We'll tell everyone, hey, it was an accident. Please stop. But we want to know.
She's called Blue because of her skin tones, of blue-black skin.
Yep.
Yeah, Ezra gave her that nickname when she was young.
Yeah.
So she's very connected to Ezra and Ezra's family. And Ezra's son and Ezra's daughter, Ezra's son Malik and his daughter, we'll get there. Hazel, thank you. Hazel and Malik are like, hey, we agree with Blue. If this was an accident or he had an aneurysm or a stroke, God forbid, we will absolutely drop this, but we don't think that's the case. We'd like this to be looked into. Misty, you are a cop. You are also a person of color, so you understand what we're going through. And Misty's like, all right, your dad was kind of a jerk. Right? Like, hey, we understand that you didn't like him, but you also understand this is justice needs to be served. Says, yes, absolutely. I'll look into it. So
they agree that if he genuinely just passed natural causes, they'll accept it. Mm-hmm. We'll tell the community to accept it as best they can and move on.
Well, I think the community would say, hey, you know what? We had a group of people look into it, and it was just an aneurysm, and it's really unfortunate. And I think that, in a lot of those cases, people would be like, oh, that sucks. But hey, at least it was done. But the fact that nothing's being done looks very suspicious.
Right.
It doesn't look good. It looks kind of like he may have been murdered in police custody. Who knows? The cops.
Yeah, and they keep bringing up the gentrification and the Misty Knight's comments like, what, you guys like mayonnaise? You don't like that fancy mayonnaise?
And I didn't get that at first, but then you find out that Ezra was protesting the gentrification and the buying out and the forced movement of people in this Harlem neighborhood so that an actual mayonnaise company could come in, and also higher end apartments and lofts that could be sold for very, very high prices because, we're making this place nice again. We're bringing Harlem back to its roots.
Yeah, they think that this is a little further on. They said back to its glory days, and Blue's like, glory days for whom?
Well, they even call
transition from what?
They call the apartments the Renaissance.
It's they call it the Renaissance,
which is a super tone deaf reference to the Harlem Renaissance.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hate real quick. Who, if you had to say what color skin tone was a part of the Harlem Renaissance? Was it? I'm going to give multiple choice. White people or black people? It's multiple choice.
I'll go black.
Yeah, I think. Yeah. No. That Matt. Matt, you also agree?
Yes, I agree.
That is correct. Survey says with 100%. Yes, it was black people, not white people. So the fact that you have white people coming in and going, yeah, we're calling it the Renaissance. It's like, this is, not only is it tone deaf, it feels like intentionally racist.
Right.
So Misty goes to the jail, and she's kind of, she's talking, and the cops are like, well, I don't know what to tell you. The corrections officers called their union reps first before they called us. So you got to understand that. Cops got to cover their own butt. Miss like, yeah, okay, cool. Why don't you get out of here? And she just pulls the correction officer aside. She's like, hey, listen, I get it. You get it. I don't like cops either. So you just need to tell me a name. Can you just tell me a name? The corrections officer gives her a name. and I forget the name that is given to her. I will find that right now. But she
Eddie Fingers.
Get that name.
Yes.
Eddie Fingers. Yes. So she's
Figures,
like, okay, I'll go look into that.
numbers.
Oh, Figures. Yes. She's like, okay, I'll look into that. But before she does that, she goes and talks to Roro in a park, and I skipped over this originally, but I think that now is a good. I was holding off to talk about it here. There is a reason that she's able to talk to Aurora in a park completely alone, because there's curfews.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes,
these
Harlem
Americops.
Harlem specifically is placed on a lockdown.
Yes.
And the people who are upholding the lockdown are not just flesh and blood cops. They are essentially who are the people in the X-Men who hunt down mutants?
Sentinels.
These are essentially just like sentinels flying over Harlem.
The Americops play a much larger role in Sam Wilson Captain America.
Yeah, and Misty talks about that briefly.
Yeah.
So like it's a police state now, which is super like not allowed. But like, hey, who's gonna tell them no? The Americops see that she has a gun and they're like, "Halt! Stop resisting!" Pew 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 pew. She's like, "I'm a cop. I'm not resisting. Like I'm a cop." And they're like, "Yeah, stop resisting." And her and Aurora were able to take out the Americops and kind of get away. But it just shows that it's very obvious what's going on here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they compare the measures they brought in to deal with the protests is like way above and beyond what's reasonable.
Yeah, it's literally against it's a war crime.
Kind of like bringing a lantern to deal with the protest.
Yeah, but that was like but like, hey, there's no emotion, so they shut up. I love Far Sector. Far Sector was so good. We got another flashback here in issue 2 in Indonesia, and Ezra's talking with some people, and this guy's like, hey, I'm not shady at all. I'm not Hydra, wink, but like, hey, spoiler alert, in a few issues, we're going to find out this guy's Hydra. And he's like, hey, you should definitely have like your own superhero team. Like a lot of places have superhero teams. And he's like, that's great. Like we have a superhero team. We have, the Avengers. He's like, that's cool. But like, you ever heard of Wakanda? It's like, no. It's like, well, Wakanda's got this like black superhero. You guys should get black superheroes. And he's like, okay, that's kind of an interesting idea. And he talks about these other places that have them. These impoverished countries have their own superheroes. They're more like a freedom fighter, more like a low to the ground team.
Yeah, they name drop Madripoor, which is a like mercenary run state in the Marvel universe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So cutting back to now, the team of Blue and Misty that we're gonna call the Blue Knight, which is a dumb name, but I don't care. They're tracking down this Eddie Figures lead, and they come across a group of guys in a house, and they're like, "Hey, you should leave because we're definitely gangster bad guys, and we're gonna mess you up." And this lady's standing on top of a box, and she says, "We let the Gat do the talking." And I was like, "Jeez, this is so like." This is like the Cartoon Network version of like, oh man, they're a gang. They were just like finger snaps short of breaking out into a musical. And I loved it. So obviously Storm destroys them all, and they're like, okay, hey, sorry, listen, hey, we overreacted. What do you want? And they're like, we want Eddie Figures. And he's like, yeah, he's not here. He's hanging out over at the place above the barbershop. And Misty's like, oh, that's where Luke lives. I'll go check that out. Thanks. You guys are all idiots. And they're like, what are you going to do? You forget how powerful Storm is, because she's always kind of portrayed like the Halle Berry Storm is like cool, but she's like sixth fiddle in those movies. And the cartoon one, she had the claustrophobia. But you forget how powerful having the ability to control the weather would actually be.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think in general, if you're part of a team ensemble, your individual prowess is just downplayed. That's just how it is.
Unless you're Wolverine.
Yeah.
Because they just keep putting him in the forefront of everything.
Because money.
Because money.
People love the Wolverine.
That's true.
I'm one of them.
I'm also one of them. Like, nothing against Logan, but it gets annoying. So Storm's like, oh yeah, so I'll go. Tell you what, you go do that. I'm gonna go through my memories. And she does. And she looks at. Oh, no,
Yeah,
no,
but she's like, "Oh man, tell me about it." Storm's like, "Okay, I was kidding. Too
will
late."
do. And she does. And so this is how it did feel at first, kind of like, why is Storm here? How does Storm know this random guy? And it turns out that her dad was. The canon has always been that her dad is from New York. Her mom is from Africa, not Wakanda specifically, but like a neighboring area. So that they met up and blah, blah, blah. But she did live in Harlem for a time. And she met Ezra because he was like, you're clearly special. And she's like, yeah, well, what are you going to do? Yes, I'm an X-Men. And so Ezra kind of like was a mentor to her. And like she split her time between Africa and here, and then X-Men and here. And this was always kind of a place for her to like rest her hat and be.
It was always home to her, regardless of everything else going on.
Yeah. So she kind of tells Misty about this, and Misty's like, that's great. I'm very happy for you. This subway is going to explode. And it does.
Yeah, they're like, why is this empty at 8:00 at night? That never.
They escape, because of course they do. And then Storm's like, okay, you go see Luke Cage. I'm going to go to the diner where Ezra was, and I'm going to go talk to his widow. And they're like, yeah, break. Team. Blue Knights. And they do. They split up, and Storm goes back and talks to the widow. And the widow's like, oh, yeah, he was a good man. And, you're a good person. He loved you. And, blah, blah, blah. Like nothing crazy was happening the day he died. I don't understand. She gets a text. She's like, oh, excuse me. She looks at her phone. She's like, come with me to the basement. And Storm's like, okay. This isn't Ezra's widow. I apologize. It's just a patron or the waitress at the diner that Ezra frequented.
Yeah, so she runs like the restaurant hangout.
She's like, come with me to the basement.
That if the mayonnaise shop were to happen, there'd be no more of these.
Yes, we'd be replacing this with the mayonnaise shop, which, real quick, I know they sponsored us for this episode, but an artisanal mayonnaise shop, doesn't that just sound like the whitest thing you've ever heard in your life?
Kinda. Yeah.
Like, it's like bordering on pure satire.
And not like just the color of mayonnaise itself, but like...
No, but like the culture.
Yeah.
So there's a scene in Undercover Brother. There's a scene in Undercover Brother where Undercover Brother has to go infiltrate. He has to pretend to date a white woman played by Denise Richards.
Oh, geez.
Dude, so hold on. So he has to put on like a nice sweater, and he has to talk like this. And he pushes his afro down to be like close cropped to the head. And she's like, oh, I made you a sandwich. And they're like, if she ever makes you a sandwich, we're giving you this special watch. And he's like, what's so special about this watch? And they go, if you press the side button, it dispenses hot sauce so that you can counteract mayonnaise. So she makes him a sandwich, and there's so much mayonnaise on this sandwich. I swear to God, it looks like vanilla pudding. It's like falling out the side of the sandwich.
It's gross.
It's horrible.
That's so gross.
Like, I'm okay with mayonnaise, like a little bit.
It calls back the dialogue where Aurora, she's like 5 names, where Aurora and Misty Knight were talking on the bench, and Misty's like, I put you for more of a sriracha girl anyway.
Yeah, that's what made me think
like
of it.
It all
exactly what made me think of it. But thanks again to Paragon Mayonnaise or whatever.
Paragon Zone. We got to get the name right or we don't get paid.
So Storm goes down to the basement with this old lady, and who's in the basement? T'Challa.
Black Panther.
The king.
And I was like, wait,
Wakanda.
why though? Why is he in this random lady's basement? This is dumb.
At this point, you're like, this seems a little below
Dumb?
your pay grade, right? Like,
Yeah.
you probably have better things going on as leader of a nation and king and warrior.
Knowing what's going on right now in Black Panther universe, yeah, his nation's literally revolting underneath him.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So we cut back to the olden times, and we see that Ezra has formed his own team, and it's a lot of people. That's going to come into play later.
But they have their team, and so do... That's where they drop Madripoor, China, and the Philippines as well.
So back in the present times, Aurora's like, hey, so like, why are you here? And he's like, oh, I've known Ezra for a long time, for about a few years, actually. He called me on a secret line that was like so outdated that it's unbelievable, but only people who Wakandan kings would trust would have this secure line. And I'd never met the guy, but he clearly had dealings with my father. That was how he started his team way back in the 50s and 60s. And so the old lady's like, yeah, this is where Ezra used to hang out. This is his secret hideout that he would run his like mini low to the ground Avengers. I invited T'Challa here so that he could kind of help us with Ezra's death, because I don't think that it was just a random death in the jail. I think it was something to do with the gentrification. And he's like, she's like,
it's like, well, what
okay, I buy that.
He had this team. What was he fighting? These luxury condos?
Mm-hmm.
Which on a surface level is like, that's dumb. Like that makes no sense. Like, this is a lot of tech here, and you're calling Black Panther to stop development? Really? Isn't there a better superhero for that? Like Captain Planet or something? I guess we'll see. So this is the Black Panther issue where he and Aurora pretend to be a couple, which is super easy for them since they were married. And they go and they check out this house. And this is where Martin Short pretty much shows them around an apartment and is like, oh, I was a black studies major and I, blah, 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 blah. I like black people and I'm not racist. Like, I have black friends. This is like,
goes on about Frank Ocean. Like, probably the only black artist he owns music from. Like, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah. He goes about Frank Ocean and he talks about premium cognac. So he's basically, this guy's the living embodiment of mayonnaise and a sweater vest.
Yeah, I didn't picture Martin Short till you said it. Now I can't.
Tell me I'm wrong.
He's like super well dressed, like with a bow tie and like a sweater, like a smart sweater vest.
Maybe Benedict Cumberbatch too, a little bit.
Maybe.
I'm gonna stick with Martin Short.
And this guy is the guy who's talking about bringing Harlem back to its glory days. The Renaissance, Aurora's like, yeah, but like a Renaissance for whom?
And then he goes, so what did you guys say you did? And they're like, we didn't say what we did. So doing this little tour, they are able to scan the whole building. And when they do, this was the one part of the book where I was like, that's dumb. This is actually dumb.
Oh, this is 100% stupid.
So they scan the building. And they scan underneath. It's like, oh, there's these cellars under there. Interesting. What's under there? Well, if you look at it from an aerial view, it's the Hydra logo. And I was like, what?
Right? Yeah, like underneath the land they own, underneath Harlem, forms the Hydra symbol.
Matt, you haven't talked in a bit. What do you think about this?
It was a plot point.
Yeah, it's dumb.
That happened.
It is dumb. There's no getting around it. But it's less dumb being this close to Secret Empire.
Yeah, I guess. But like, it's still dumb.
It is dumb. I'm not saying it's not dumb. I don't want to lie to people. It's dumb.
So then Storm literally, as soon as they show the Hydra logo, she goes, oh no! And she's saying it because she has to warn Misty, but
she doesn't have reception.
Of just Hydra logo. Oh no! My claustrophobia. It's so bad.
It's a shame, but like, I'll never not think of claustrophobia when I think of Storm.
You can't,
because of just how frequently that was employed in the X-Men. 92.
92 was such a pivotal part of our childhoods.
It was.
Everybody here, all three of us loved that show.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So Misty, she goes to the house where Eddie is supposed to be, and it explodes because, of course, it does. And Luke Cage just walks out and he's like, "Oh God, so cool!" And he is. He's the coolest. He's the coolest guy in every scene that he's in, whether it's the live action or the comic. He's just the coolest. And that ends the issue. And then issue 4, we flash back again, and Ezra's team is in Mississippi in 1964. Now, if I just tell you, Matt, I'm gonna posit this to you. If I say, hey, there's a black guy superhero team in Mississippi in 1964. What's happening?
I'm going to go with probably something that involves the Klan.
Matt, not only could you be a comic book writer, but you could be a screenwriter.
Oh my God.
That's exactly what's happening.
I'm guessing Mississippi was burning around 1964.
You could
We did it. We did it.
Quick shout out to Mississippi for finally agreeing to change their flag. Nice job. Good for them.
Yes.
took you way too long.
Yeah.
But also the Redskins are changing their logo finally. Maybe took you
They
long
changed
enough.
their name? And it cannot be a racial slur anymore?
Supposedly.
FedEx said that they don't want their name attached to them anymore.
And they said, we need FedEx money because we're not a good football team.
Mm-mm.
Just like
Anyway.
rule of thumb. Don't name yourselves after a racial slur.
Yep. And the Cleveland Indians are also.
You'd be
looking into
shocked at
changing
how
their
many
name
teams did that. Let's rattle them off. Stanford University, Syracuse University, Cleveland baseball, Washington baseball, Alabama. I know, shocking that Alabama did that.
You mean Washington football?
What'd I say?
Baseball.
Sure. Maybe the Washington baseball team used to be. Oh no, because they were in Montreal.
The Expos.
Maybe that one's racist too somehow. I don't know. It was like in the 60s, everyone's like, forget it. It's all white people. And then they went, oh, wait, it's not. Yikes. Anyway, I found out Cincinnati, it's not a racial thing. Did you know that? The Reds?
Oh, the Reds? Yeah.
Cincinnati, basically, they're the Reds. I was like, oh, well, they were probably racist before. My dad's like, no, it's actually they were the Red Stockings. And there's the Red Stockings and Red Sox. You can't do that. I was like, oh, cool. So Cincinnati's not racist. Well, I mean, it might be, but like their baseball team's not neat.
Yeah, the origin of their team is not racist.
No.
Which, like, cool that you have to thumbs up to that, but like that's my bingo card for 2020. So in the 60s, Ezra's team's like, Klan is bad. And the FBI is like, well, we can't do anything about it because like everyone here is the Klan. And Ezra's like, but like you could make them stop being the Klan. And they're like, well, it sounds like it's out of our hands. See you later. And that's kind of when Ezra realizes, oh, the government still hates us. We really can't work within the parameters of the government. We're going to have to go outside. Back in the real now times, Missy Knight's like, oh God, I forgot how hot Luke Cage is. And he's just standing there, literally on fire, again, being the coolest guy in the room. And she's like, so how's the kid and your wife? And he's like, oh, everything's good. How are you? Let me just go jump up 60 feet in the air to grab this guy.
Yeah, it jumps up on the helicopter. Or not helicopter, but the flying aircraft. Brings it down. There's no blades. It's not a helicopter. Brings it down crashing.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah, he's the coolest. And the guy's like, Hail Hydra. But
yeah, don't say
it. I love it. And Misty, there's seriously just this, Misty's like, yeah. He's like, really? It's Hydra again? And she's like, yeah, what are you going to do? Like, she looks so exasperated. Like, it's always Hydra, man. Come on, I don't know what to tell you, Luke. Then they finally find Eddie Figures, and he's like, hey, how's it going? He was hiding out in an ex-girlfriend's house. And he's like, yeah, life's crazy, right? And like, yeah, hey, so like, what happened to Ezra? You were in jail at the same time as him. He's like, oh yeah, this guy came in and talked to him. And then like, they said, oh wait, you're not supposed to be here to me because I guess I wasn't supposed to be there. And then I left. And then he died. And they're like, oh, can you identify this guy? He's like, yeah, probably for a price. And they're like, no, shut up. He's like, okay. So they go and talk to the people who run the AmeriCops. Misty and Luke do. And the people who run the AmeriCops are Paragon Industries.
Yep.
Hey, wait a second. Isn't the people who sponsored us Paragon's own?
It's probably not related.
So they meet with Paul Keene of Paragon Industries.
Yeah, they sure. Is he the guy who emailed us?
Well, it's the secretary.
Yeah, but the secretary for Paul Keene.
It's probably not related.
It's a strange coincidence, I guess, that Paragon's own mayonnaise sponsored us when we're doing this book, and Paragon Industries has the AmeriCops and the man. Huh.
So Misty and Luke meet Mr. Keene here, and she brings up like, it's weird. Me and my friend were in a park, and there were like 50 AmeriCops, and they attacked us, and they wouldn't stop attacking us. However, this building blew up, and there were no AmeriCops. He's like, well, you can't be everywhere at once. It's just difficult. She goes, I'm not saying everywhere at once. I'm saying this is not you're not protecting any people.
You're
That's the
protecting your
issue.
property.
Yeah,
Exactly.
And then Luke has a mini flashback. He's like, yeah, I used to be kind of a jerk. But then this Ezra guy came along and was like, hey, you can do other things. And he's like, yeah, I can. That's cool. We should look into the AmeriCops more because they're clearly the bad guys, right? And he's like, yeah, they're definitely the bad guys.
yeah, and you do get that in Sam Wilson Captain America.
That makes sense. They go back to the restaurant, and Aurora's there, Black Panther's there, the waitress is there. There's like, hey guys, come on and let me fix you something to eat. The next issue is the Manifold issue, but it starts off with the breakdown of the of Ezra's team, and Ezra's team's kind of started. The one of the people who runs it is with him is like, hey, you know, we're gonna start taking some of this money when we save people, right? And Ezra's like, no, we're not.
Frank. Yeah, Frank would do that. He started going and started committing crimes for the sake of doing them, and he would always use the movement as his reasoning why. And Ezra brings up, right, that's why you have new tailored custom suits, et cetera, because that all helps the cause, right? And like as soon as Ezra said that, Frank's like, you know what, we took a vote, you're out. And kicked Ezra out of the
poof
of the team. Yeah.
And they literally poof him away with their superpowers.
Yes, they do.
We see Manifold destroying some AmeriCops in Harlem. And he's like, hey, this is, you know, this, he has kind of a flashback to why he's here. And it's like, this was also my place. You know, I was here. I split my time between here and Wakanda.
And Australia.
And there was a tasty little firefly.
Was there?
Easter egg? Yeah, he says no power in the verse can stop me, and that is from Firefly.
Totally missed it because I don't like Firefly.
And I saw that, and I was like, "Eee."
I'm glad it made somebody happy.
Oh, I love it.
Made me happy.
I'm glad it made two people happy. So we kind of get the team now fully together. The whole crew is together, and so. Here's what I'm thinking. I think this was the original plan for the story the whole time, right? These first 6 issues were going to set up who the crew is, what they're going to do. Then you'd have the series would go on and the crew would do things. But you had the setup, right? Mm-hmm. But when it got canceled, it definitely feels like they had to go, uh-oh, and slam it all together.
Yeah.
So
they had to wrap it all
up. So here you find out that, the guy that helped get Ezra the money, and they're like, yeah. And Black Panther's like, yeah, it turns out that guy was Hydra. And they're like, oh, that explains some stuff.
The whole time?
And they're having this conversation in the diner with the TV on. And then all of a sudden, Eddie Figures goes, hey, that's the guy. And they're like, what? I'm like, that's the guy on TV right there, that guy. And he's pointing to the TV screen. And the what's on screen is the protest outside of City Hall for Ezra. You know, it's essentially the no justice, no peace that we're very familiar with now. Yeah. And they even say no justice, no peace. And they're pointing, he's pointing to the screen. He's like, that's the guy right there in the front of the crowd. I'm like, you have to be mistaken, right? Like, no, that's him. He came to talk to Ezra. I was led away, and then Ezra was dead. And he's pointing to Ezra's son,
Malik. Bum, bum, bum. Final issue begins in 1972 Harlem.
Yes.
We see an altercation between Ezra and Frank.
Which, like, I know Franks. I know a couple Franks. They're very nice guys. But Frank definitely is like a good name for a bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And in this, he is a bad guy as he's talking to Ezra about how they got their ransom because they've gotten into the act of kidnapping, once again with the presumption that it's all for the cause. Yep. And Ezra was not for it. He's like, this is not why I started it. And Frank's like, oh, you just can't handle being number 2. The Lynx can't handle being second best to Frank. And so they get into an altercation. Frank pulls a gun. Ezra is able to basically turn the gun around, and Frank ends up shooting himself in the gut.
Yeah, the couple lines here from Ezra's point of view say, going up against the very heroes we were supposed to be, forgot what the fight was for.
And then we see the woman who was in, very briefly, you just see that the woman who was with Frank's group comes out and is like, she's the one who kind of can poof people away. She comes out and she poofs Frank's body away to cover up Ezra. And she goes, I didn't like him either. Like, you're right. And it's like, you see that, like, he didn't just change. He didn't leave by himself. He was changing minds as he did it. So Ezra, the entire time, was this guy who could kind of help change people for the positives. You see that. We cut to the modern day, and the protests start to become riotous. They become like violent, and they're fighting people. And Malik is kind of stoking it all. And so the crew shows up to stop it. Manifold is sending people other places, including Navy Pier in Chicago.
Navy Pier, which that does not look like Navy Pier.
It does not. Shout out to Chicago. So he's transporting people all over the place. Storm is causing rain to try to cool people down. And this whole time, Black Panther is like, I can track something. I see something. And it's the woman from Black Panther Volume 1, the witch, who is turning people against him with mind control. She is physically mind controlling people to become more violent in this protest, to make it look worse than it is. And Misty tracks down Malik after talking to his sister Hazel, and she tracks him down to a roof, and he's like, my uncle was a weak man. He had to die. I have done more for the revolution, for the cause, than he ever did. Look at those people. And she's like, yeah, you're kind of making it bad. You're kind of the wrong revolutionary here. And he goes, whatever. And he jumps off the building and yells, Hail Hydra.
Hail Hydra.
But Hazel, the sister, runs up and sees Misty standing there, and she sees her brother gone, and she just assumes that Misty shoved him off.
Yeah.
Which is horrible, because that's not what she did. He jumped himself. He did this all under the guise of Hydra. So Hydra did this whole thing from the beginning, even up to now, which, like you said, John, this leads into Secret Empire perfectly.
It was honestly across like every book.
Yes.
There was the plot point of it was Hydra the whole time. It was that time in Marvel history.
Yeah.
And the book ends with the crew coming together and saying, well, this is horrible, but I feel like this has brought us together. We're going to help be revolutionaries. We're going to help bring the love and peace to the people. We are the crew. And then the book and series ends.
We are the streets.
Which is very unfortunate.
Yeah, it is.
So final thoughts, gentlemen. Let's talk about things we liked.
Sure.
Matt, why don't you start?
Okay. I mean, I feel like this book, you could tell, like we've talked about it already, you could tell that they knew when it was canceled because they had to wrap up everything. But I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the detective work a lot. Everything except for the painfully obvious Hydra reveal.
Yeah.
I loved Manifold. I thought he was such an interesting character, somebody that can travel basically through different planes in order to teleport, which I think is really cool. Because that's kind of like what Ciri in The Witcher does with her Elder Blood. If you've played the Witcher games, that is, she can access essentially the multiverse and go through it.
Similar to like Blink for another mutant.
Nightcrawler being the more famous known space shifter.
Manifold with basically creating portals like
it's pretty cool.
Yeah, the portal parts led me to Blink.
Yeah, he's a cool character. I agree with you, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, like all the characters in this, I really liked.
I felt that the characters were all true to their character.
Yes,
I love. To be honest, I didn't recognize Storm until she used her powers.
Sure. Same. I didn't know Storm until the reveal. I was like, who's this blue lady? What's going on with that?
She's just
if you had seen her eyes, you would have noticed.
Yeah, and she was wearing sunglasses, which covered
and she
her
had
eyes,
her hair was. I don't know the name.
A term for the thing that was on her head. I'm gonna look it up.
Okay. Yeah, but her hair was concealed the entire time as well.
I agree with you, Matt. That it's. I also didn't know it was her.
Yeah, and then you find out, and I thought that was really
turban.
Cool.
Just call it turban, or a Ankara.
That is probably what it is.
Well, it said that it is an African turban as well.
Yeah,
like the one that Black Panther's mom has in the first scene that you see her in Black Panther is called a turban. According to what I looked up online, that could be wrong, but it's like a turban is a head covering in this case. So
Okay. But yeah, like I said, once we were able to kind of pick up when they knew that they were being canceled, I felt like everything was rushed, which is too bad because I feel like the pacing was, like I said, it was really interesting. It was a fun detective story. But yeah, I don't think it should have been called Black Panther and the Crew.
yeah,
But like, I get it. You wanted to sell copies, and he's a big deal.
yeah, I agree with you 100% there. It's unfortunate.
But I was also okay with a story that centered around Misty Knight and Storm. Storm is one of my favorite X-Men.
Yeah.
So it was cool to see her in the spotlight.
Mm-hmm.
John, what about you? What did you like, John?
My favorite thing was honestly Misty Knight. I love how deliberate she is with every line of dialogue. How every iteration I've seen of her, she only tells the minimum. She only gives away the minimum amount of information she absolutely has to. She's just really great. She's a great police detective slash officer slash whatever position she has at the time. She's very dry. I just love her as a character. I love seeing her here. I loved issue 1 with the narration. I love it when you get to hear characters in their own voice, especially characters that don't get the spotlight often.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I thought the characters were all super true to their character. It was an unfortunately rushed book, but even with that, I thought the beats that every character got, their own issue was really good. The monologuing over stuff was all poignant and it worked. We didn't talk about that much, but I mean, it's something you need to read. It's just an overall like interesting book. It is not the best Ta-Nehisi Coates I've ever read. That's for sure. It's not the best team up story I've ever read, but it's still a fun time. And especially now knowing where it fits between Black Panther Volume 1 and Secret Empire, it works even better for me. So I like that. I'd give this book a 6.5, 7 out of 10.
Yeah,
Same.
I would say a 7.
I think without the context require reading either before and or after. Like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, you didn't know the bad guy from Nation Under Our Feet. You're like, who is this lady?
Yeah.
What is happening? And I get that. That's a totally valid criticism. The Hydra reveal, super corny. Totally valid criticism.
Absolutely. Even with all that said, fun time.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
Any more last thoughts, or should we just take this to the outro, gentlemen?
Take it to the outro.
I think we're good.
Oh, the outro. And that's the podcast this week, John and Matt. Another fun one. Not necessarily the greatest book I've ever read, but a nice. It was short. It was a nice little romp, little detective romp. We haven't had one of those in a while, so I liked it. I'm glad we read that book.
Yeah, me as well. Also,
Good. Next week, what are we reading and why? John?
we're reading. Well, thank you. We're reading Umbrella Academy Volume 2, Dallas.
Why?
Reading it because the Umbrella Academy Season 2 is going to drop on Netflix the end of the month. So with our production schedule, we figured we should put it out there a little beforehand so you guys have time to read it.
Yes.
If you haven't read the books, but have seen the show, Season 1 of the Umbrella Academy basically takes the first volume, the Apocalypse Suite, and the second volume, Dallas, and puts them together for an amazing season of television.
Mm-hmm.
So the topic is familiar to you.
Very, very good.
Same.
I've never read Dallas. I'm looking forward to it. I have Matt and I both.
Dallas is your favorite parts of the show.
Yes. Oh, without a doubt. Matt and I both have a love with the book 11/22/63, which takes place during the assassination of John F. Kennedy. I have a lot of. I don't want to say I like the assassination of John F. Kennedy because that's messed up, but the history around it has always been very fascinating to me. I've always enjoyed reading information about it and finding out everything I could about it. So I'm looking forward to reading a book that delves in that mythos of history and time. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too.
Should be fun. We're reading that, and then after that, we will highlight another character of color with reading Miles Morales straight out of Brooklyn. But it fits too perfectly to include Umbrella Academy when Umbrella Academy comes out. It worked out too nice, so we had to do it.
Yeah.
But that'll do it for this week, gentlemen. You guys are staying safe, staying clean, right?
Yeah, trying.
Home for the most part when doing what you got to do. Good. Are you eating healthy? How have you been eating? Okay.
I mean,
this and that. Sandwich here and there.
Haven't really changed my eating.
Okay. Well, you're already a pretty healthy guy, Matt. You don't drink a lot of soda pop. That's good. But how is your mayonnaise intake, gentlemen? Because I feel like we could all use a little bit more mayonnaise.
I've never had more mayonnaise. What a time to be alive.
What a time to be alive. And what a time to have a sponsor like Paragon Zone. Now we have our ad read for Paragon Zone mayonnaise. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you later.
Bye.
Paragon's own mayonnaise. The mayonnaise for the working class man and woman in your life. Paragon's own is great for a variety of uses, such as...
I like to dip my fries in it.
My school puts it on hot dog.
One time I slathered it on a steak and it was edible.
I just eat it straight.
Paragon's own mayonnaise. You can eat it straight. And now in spicy with a little bit of sea salt and vinegar.
Ooh, bye.
Paragon's own mayonnaise.
This is spicy.
Hail Hydra.
You can follow us on Twitter at Talkin' Trades. Follow Jeremy on Twitter at LizardKing27. You can find John on Twitter at Maesterlaka, Maesterlaka. And for this and other projects from Matt, please check out Facebook at Matt Spina Music. And remember, we're not experts, we're fans.